Guys, we're back with a video about what you can do if you're planning on purchasing a house. What are the best steps to take to prepare yourself in terms of budget, down payment and closing costs, credit, and what things you to consider when buying in 2022 and maybe then some. You'll want to go ahead and subscribe and like this channel because you don't want to miss any future tips. And also, guys, remember that we have a wonderful live where I answer all of your questions Wednesday at 6 p.m. So here's the deal, guys. Not everyone just qualifies out the gates, and contrary to popular belief, you don't just go and look at 3 properties and choose one out of the 3, or Google Zillow and you're like, that's the property I'm buying. There's a lot that actually goes in to buying a home and what you should do to prepare yourselves. If you watched last week's video that talks all about the housing market, I mentioned a lot about how competitive things still are, and the fact that we're facing rising interest rates. And so there's a lot of things to consider when it comes to budget, when it comes to finance, for cash to close, for monthly payment. And so my very first suggestion, if you're considering a house, honestly, next month, 6 months, 12 months, is to actually take a deep dive on your budget. And what I mean by a deep dive on your budget is I think you should either get one of those budgeting apps or download a budget sheet. I have a great one on my website, and really go line by line on every different category, going through your bank account anywhere between 3 to 6 months and really pulling out what it is that you're actually spending. And when it comes to spending, there's a couple of different ways to budget. One is survival, right? What are the basic payments that you have, in terms of rent, utilities, minimum debt payments, groceries, gas, right? What do you actually have to have in your account to not have bad credit and also to pay your household expenses? Then there's lifestyle expenses, right? So it's your going out, your clothing, your eating out. It's also your shopping habits like Amazon. You want to look at what is, just reoccurring based on your life. And then you'll also want to take a look at reoccurring debts like subscriptions to gyms. Are you going to the gym, right? That's a thing to question. I know it's New Year's, so probably yes. But the thing is, you want to take a good look at that stuff, and you'd be surprised. The average person has somewhere, I think it's around $200 in annual subscription fees for things that they don't even realize that they're still paying on, okay? So we're gonna break it down from survival, like I said, and then lifestyle expenses. And then what you really wanna do is figure out, can I live off of 70% of my net take-home income? Now, for a lot of you, that's gonna be a no. I talk to people all the time who are literally living on 90%, 80%. But in general, for personal finance, you're gonna wanna try to get to a point where you can live off of 70%, and this includes your house payment or your new house payment, right? So that you have money to be able to invest for retirement, save for a rainy day, and then pay down debt. So once you have your budget completely finalized, the next step I'm gonna ask you to take is to actually speak to a loan officer. And look, there's a lot of different options out there in terms of internet banks and online applications where you don't have to speak to anyone. But I'm talking about a real mortgage professional, someone who's going to walk you through multiple scenarios and options that are available to you, because I will tell you that most people come in and have a very basic understanding of the mortgage process and what's available for financing. I can't even tell you how many people I talk to who think that 20% is still the minimum down that they have to have. And so I'm going to ask you to talk to somebody who's seasoned, who's worked in a variety of different economic climates, and who's invested in real estate themselves so that they can walk you through this process. And that person is going to help you come up with a purchase budget, right? So what is the maximum purchase price you can have based on the monthly payment that you need and the cash to close funds that you will either have or save, okay? So knowing those numbers, what I want you to then do is plug them in to your budget. And if it's possible, for the next 1 to 6 months, you should make that anticipated payment in something, right? Either move, the excess from rent into a savings account, but I want you to be able to start spending what that anticipated budget would be and see, does that actually impact your life? So when I was gonna make a decision to purchase the last house that we did, I felt very overwhelmed by the amount of the mortgage payment. And even though I knew I qualified for it, I wasn't 100% sure I was prepared to make the payment. And so one of the other things that I talk to a lot with clients is, they might income qualify on paper for an amount that they don't feel qualified to make the payment on. And so you want to establish a good baseline for what would be acceptable, right? And so oftentimes, I will find that people just spend all the money that they have. And so by altering their spending habits, their budget, they really have no impact on lifestyle, because instead of buying, going on a shopping spree every other week on Amazon, they're just utilizing those funds for rent, and it really doesn't impact their life. Or they find out that, they were really paying like $200 more on a credit card, and the credit card's going to be paid off soon, so that other $200 now can go towards a mortgage payment. You can't, nail down that number though unless you're prepared to start making the payments. So that's going to be my next recommendation, right? Is then just make the payments ahead of time. Now, I want to dig in a little bit deeper on the talking to a mortgage professional, okay? Because I know I get a lot of pushback on fees and costs. And I will tell you that I know that at least our team, we're not the cheapest, but we do get the best advice. And because we have some of the best processes, our clients are able to get their offers accepted quicker, close faster, and honestly, over the long haul, putting somebody in the right product can actually save them so much more money than costs and fees. And you really do, in this market, especially because of the rising interest rates, you just want to prepare yourself, if you're shopping for a loan, to shop on the same day, right, and same time, right? So that way you're comparing apples to apples in terms of rate comparison. The market moves so quickly in some cases, and so you would hate to have shopped 2 days ago and then shop now. You're going to get completely different quotes. So my next step is going to be stay consistent on the plan. So I talk to lots of clients who can income qualify or are close to qualifying, and so we give them a purchase plan or credit plan that has action items that need to be accomplished. So many clients, when they talk to us for the first time, have never heard of how much they're going to need for a down payment, have never seen a closing cost estimate, and so giving them those items will then give them a plan for savings, right, which again will impact your budget, which you can't get unless you talk to a seasoned mortgage professional, okay? So we are going to be consistent on the plan. So that means paying your credit cards on time. That means staying diligent on the savings plan. That means staying in constant communication with your loan officer, right, so that you know the latest and greatest as it comes to interest rates and mortgage programs. In that same category, it's if you're in the process of applying for a home loan, very important that your employment stays consistent, that you maintain the same regular work hours, right, or more, right? We don't want to see any kind of disruption from when we first spoke to you. Otherwise, we have to then go backwards and recalculate how much you qualify for, redo some of the work, and we don't want to set you back a couple steps, okay? So super important that you stay consistent with the plan and with your finances, maintain on-time payments, the whole thing that you should be doing if you're a #adulting. Now, my fourth step is going to be a little bit challenging for some people. But I will tell you that if your budget does not allow for you to save at minimum 10% of your net take-home income, I'm going to tell you that maybe it's not a great idea to buy a home. Buying a home is costly, guys. There's maintenance items, there's repair items. Sometimes your HOA assesses, for additional community repairs. I mean, there's all kinds of things that come up. I know when I bought a home for my first time, I was completely underprepared, and I found out after I bought my home that my air conditioning was on its last leg, and I was just not prepared to make the payment. That was a $5,000 cost, and the only reason that I, as the homeowner, did not have to pay for it is because we had this fluke hailstorm in Arizona, came from the sky and broke my air conditioner, so it was covered under insurance. For real, you don't want to have to pray for hail. You want to save for a rainy day, for real. So in addition to having a rainy day fund, it also does not hurt an application for a borrower to have additional reserve savings, right? For, you know, in case you need additional months of payments, like something happened to you at work and you have to take a couple of weeks of unpaid leave, right? So it's important that you have additional reserves. It looks like better on a loan application and will give you more options in your purchasing structure, right? Sometimes buyers in this market have to pay for an appraisal gap or, you know, bid over asking. Having more funds available, truthfully, is probably one of the best tips of advice for literal life that I can give you. All right, last but not least, guys, probably the most practical piece of advice that I could give you, not just for buying a home, but literally just for life, and that is to continue to educate yourself. So the majority of the population literally just takes the next step from the first person that talks to them. And so that means that they're just gonna get whatever loan program or whatever offer the person that's representing them provides to them. And because you're somebody who's taking the initiative to watch this YouTube channel, in fact, that you've listened to the whole one, it tells me that you are proactive and aggressive, but it is up to you to be your own advocate. So you're gonna have to research what's available in terms of loan programs, the market, tune into the lives so that you can get expert, you know, opinions to help you ask better questions. But it really is up to you to advocate for yourself, to be educated, and to, you know, to ask the right questions, truthfully. So that was my final tip, guys. And then just some last words to wrap up this video. I will tell you that buyers who enter the real estate market with the wrong expectations and the wrong preparation end up getting into the wrong mortgages and walk out feeling like they've made a bad decision or they're unhappy with their real estate professionals. And what I want you to understand is that while real estate, I believe, is an awesome investment, it's also attached to your largest liability, and it should not be an easy process. Like, it's not that I want it to be complicated, but I want you to have to look at your finances. I want you to have to know how much skin in the game you need, right? I want you to pay attention to that there's multiple options for you. And I want you to apply these principles to anything financial that you do in your life, because this is how rich people stay rich and get wealthy, right? These are the things that people don't teach us, and they're not complicated. They take work and they take time. And you, because you're watching YouTube, I know you're willing to put in the extra work, the additional effort to get you into the right home with the right mortgage product. So until next time, guys, tune in to our live on Wednesday where I'll be answering all of your great real estate questions. See you next week. This is what I'm sorry. It was so bad, Jess. I honestly was like, I was so broke. And then it was like, oh my God, I have no money. And I would pray every night that this AC wouldn't go out on me. Every day. I would barely turn it on. I was so stressed. I was like, please God. And then no shit, like a year later, the hail came. That's why I always laugh. I'm like, God's probably like, Lizzie, your tab is horrible. Like.